everybody, my name is Lilo Siegel and it is my pleasure to welcome you in my channel and my playlist Sewing Made Easy. As I've just showed you in my last video how you can work with ribbons. If you haven't seen this, it will be written in the box underneath in the info box how to do this, because it will be this kind of work that you can see right here. And what I got planned to show you in this video, it doesn't matter now if you want to make maybe a new blouse for yourself or a new shirt. That means exactly for that you can use my tip that I will give you right here. But maybe you got, like me, a black shirt and it's just too boring, simple black, and it has been in the wardrobe for a long time and has not been worn. But the material is way too good to throw away, as it hardly has not been worn whatsoever. So I would like to pep it up with these ideas that I got, and I show you right now. So if you're interested, stay tuned, I'll show you right now. So I would like to show you what I've prepared so far. As I said before, the video to how to do this exactly you can see in my previous video, but I also will write it in my info box as mentioned. So my first thought was, as I only got a 80 thickness yarn that I used here for this one, I had to make the decision, do I want to make these lines, these stitchings with a thin yarn, which is this one, or do I want to make it with a nice thick one, because I want this to be plastic shown out. And you can see here the thickness of this yarn is 30 and this one is 120 thickness. But I've decided on the thick yarn, as you can see here, as I prepared all this, and I put a very big stitch, a long stitch on the sewing machine, because it looks much better as it is a decoration stitch. It doesn't hold anything together. So when I'm as an example putting a sleeve in or a color in a coat, then my stitch has to be small, because it's holding this part together. But here's nothing holding something together, so I can use these nice big stitches which really look nice. After that I made the decision how wide I want my part to be. As I want this finished width to be 3 centimeters. I did on a different piece of material a couple of tests if I want it quite small to be put here in the middle or if I want it wider, and I decided on something just a little bit smaller than this one. If we have a look here, I'm on about 16 millimeters in between my two lines, because this whole thing, like I said, will be 3. So I put this right in the middle of this long stripe of black material that I cut myself on 6 centimeter widths. And after I've done my decoration stitching here in the middle, I ironed it over both sides. And oh yeah, not to forget, I also ironed some interfacing here on the back, because I want this to really lie flat, and that helps me to get my stitching and everything really nice and flat. Okay, so we do all this. We iron this over to 3 centimeters in the finished width. And in the same length as what I need, I cut myself in the color I wish, and in my case I want it to really fit together with this one. I cut one piece in 7 centimeter widths, and of course the length that I need, and iron it over so it's just a little bit wider than my top one here, because this will go exactly on top of this now, as I will show you in a moment. So on each side I have approximately 2 millimeter white or beige looking material sticking out. But let me show and explain to you now on the shirt what I have meant to do.
Well, believe it or not, this is the black shirt, and as you cannot see anything but black color, I just put my hand inside the pocket so you actually see what I'm trying to tell you. Of course, to do a nice change on the pocket on this shirt, I could just take the whole pocket off and maybe put this stripe in sideways, diagonal, or in any way. But I'm a bit lazy, so I do not want to take this pocket off. I want to leave it on the shirt as it is and only add something to it. With other words, I want to make a flap, which I will put over the top. And mainly also there is a reason, because John, my husband, he doesn't like these kind of pockets when there isn't either a button to close up or a flap over it, because often he likes to put a couple of bills in that pocket, and if he bends over, when he bends over, it's bound to fall out. But with a flap over it, that will not happen. So this is my idea. I will make out of a small stripe right here a part, which I then stitch over the actual pocket that's on that shirt as a flap. And so we go to the sewing machine right here. That's my two parts now, which I cut approximately 2 centimeters longer than the actual pocket on the shirt is, because I need 1 centimeter for each side extra. So please put them together now, so you have the good sides, the right sides, facing towards each other. Now put the black part directly in the middle of your white or your other colored piece of material which you have, so you can see from your ironed over edges that you have on each side the same amount sticking over. And just fasten this with a couple of stitches so this black part is held already for you. Now turn both ends over towards the black, directly into your ironed edges from your white or whatever colored material you got, and stitch your 1 centimeter along over. And now turn this inside out to check your corners, and hopefully you worked a little bit better than me, because you can see now that actually one side is a little bit bigger than the other side. So I have the choice: do I want to open it again? Do I want to correct it and make it a little bit better? Or, you see, that will be your decision how exact you like to work. So I turn it back again to where we were before, so I can look in the inside again. And again, I will only fasten with a couple of stitches my black material in the middle, but I also pull down the underneath material, the white one, a little bit out, like 2 millimeters maybe. That means my black part is slightly longer. It's not much, don't pull it out a lot, but it's got to be slightly longer than the white part, because I want the white part to be 2 millimeters shorter. Why, you will see later when we get to the next part then. And again here, as I said before, I'm just holding this black part in position for me, so I don't need to hold too many materials in the same moment. And now again, I turn over the two white parts, leaving hopefully the same amount of material exactly over. And now I can turn it around, and you see that's what it looks like. The black one sticks up a bit because I do have the interfacing in there. Now I put a 30 yarn on the top of my sewing machine, and I pull the thread out, because a 30 yarn I never do a backward stitching. I will later on, just with a needle by hand, put the stitches inside. And now, with about a millimeter away from the edge, I'll stitch this on both sides on top of my black material here. And here at the end you can see I will not do a backward stitching. I pull it out for later on to get rid of it with a little hand stitch. Because the way I'm doing this now, this flap is totally cleaned off practically on both sides. That means there's no seams hanging out, nothing. It's just in a perfect condition to really just now stitch onto the shirt on as I got it planned. As you can see this right here now, it looks gorgeous already. So it's time for me to put the shirt on the table of my sewing machine. And for this next job, I put a normal thickness of my yarn on the top and in the bottom of my sewing machine, and I try to find out the position exactly where I like to stitch that flap. When I'm in the right position, I'll take the side from my little flap, put it down where I want to position it, and now pull the top slightly away from the edge, because I want my stitching now to go exactly in the shadow of that seam, because it would spoil it if I would be stitching over the plaque and over the ribbons and everything. So really, that was also the reason why I earlier on had the underneath part a little bit tighter pulled. So now when I've stitched in the shadow of that seam, my top part will slightly roll over and you will not at all see that there's a seam done. So I give it one look underneath my flap to make sure I'm not closing by accident the pocket that I do have underneath. And with a millimeter distance from the edge, I'll stitch with my light colored thread the flap on. Now getting to this corner, I do exactly the same as on the other side. I slightly pull the top material to my left side away and only stitch directly in the shadow of the seam. That's what you call it. You call it the shadow of the seam. And when you look at it now, you don't even see that there on the sides are any stitches being done. And that is it already. That's all you got to do to get a flap over a pocket and to design your shirt in a total different way. You can put your bills now in there, you can put your money in there, you can bend over and it will not fall out. So maybe this gave you a total new idea what you can do with a boring shirt or a boring material just to change something. And in a couple of days' time, I will make you another video how you can add on that kind of shirt a fitting buttonhole placket. And I show that to you also step by step, of course, and it will fit exactly to this flap that we've just done. So, my dear friends all over in the world, the English-speaking parts, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope very much you'll be around again. Let me know where you are, because I love to travel in my mind, in my thoughts, around the world with you. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now. Until next time. Tschüss.